Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to learn what is a variable. So, a variable is an allocated memory space in the RAM in which we can store a value. And in order to store a value, first we need to know how we can do that. So there are two ways of doing it: declaring a variable as well as you can initialize a value, or first you can just declare a variable, later you can initialize a value to that specific variable. So let's see that. First, in order to store a value, first we need to know what kind of value we are going to store. For example, if I'm going to store a value 10, we need to identify that 10 is a what kind of data type, whether 10 is an integer or it is a float or it is a character. So 10 is a number, so it is obviously it is an integer data type. So I'm going to store value 10. X is equal to 10. Here x is a variable name and int is a data type and 10 is the value. The value 10 is stored in the variable named x. Actually, this type of declaring a variable, we declare the variable as well as we initialize the value to the variable. But there is another way also. First, we can just declare the variable. Later, we can initialize any value to that variable. These are ways of declaring and initializing the value to the variable. And actually there are two types of variable. One is called global variables and another is called local variables. So we'll see what is global variable and what is a local variable. So global variables are actually called as any variables which are present outside the function. So any variables which are present outside the function are called as global variables. In C program, main is also a function. So in order to create a global variable, we need to declare variables outside the main function. Int a equal to 10, int b equal to 45.9. Sorry, 45.9 is a float, my bad. And char gender equal to male. And we can access all this variable name inside the main and we can see what are the values it's showing. So first I need to print integer value, and integer is basically in C program we need to give in order to print values we need to give format specifiers. We will learn about format specifier in upcoming videos, but just in order to print 10 and 45.9 and m, we just need to give this format specifier. I'll just give this and demonstrate this to you. F for floating point and C for character, and I have to give variable name. If we just print this, I think it will show this correct output. In order to print, I'm going to terminal and I will show this how to print. First, we need to enter GCC command line and we have to type the full file name. After that, we just need to execute it. So if you see here, it is showing us the integer value 10 and float value 45.90002. The reason why it is showing 9002 is because we did not mention any strict condition to this .f format specifier. If you mention .2f, it will just only print two places after decimal point, and in gender it is mentioning m. So it will print the values if it contains a value in the variable. So let's see how it will behave if there is no value inside this variable. I will just show this again. So let's see it. I will tell you how global variables will behave if there is no value is present to this variable. For example, int x, I'm just declaring it. I'm not initializing, I'm just declared. But it is not initialized with any value. And next I'm going to initialize a float value, float of y, and then char of, I'm just going to initialize char of gender. but I'm not going to, sorry, I'm just going to declare the char of gender, but here I'm not going to initialize any value to this variable gender. So let's print and check what values it will give. So to print, again, x is by default int, and y is y I gave the data type as float, and for gender the data type is character. So I just need to mention the appropriate format specifier for this. Ampersand d for int, ampersand f for float, ampersand c for gender, and I need to mention the variable names. X is for int, y is for float, and gender is for character. And whenever the global variables is just declared, but if it is not initialized with any value, it will give 0 for int. For float it will give 0.0, and for character it will not print anything, it will just print empty. So we'll check this, whatever I said is printing correctly in the terminal. Gcc variables.c, and I'm just going to run this particular out file. So as I said, for x is an int, right? So it mentioned just 0, and for float it mentioned 0.00, and for gender it did not mention anything. So when we declare a value outside the global, when we declare the value outside the main function, it is called as a global variable. But if you don't initialize any value, by default it will give 0 for int and 0.00 for floating point values, and for gender it is by default it's a character. So for character it will not print anything. Let's see what will happen if these variables are present inside the main. If these variables are present inside the main, it is called as local variables. So local variables are nothing but any variables which are present inside the function. It is called as local variables. So when local variables are just declared, but if the local variables are not initialized with any value, it will give garbage values. Garbage values are nothing, it is just some random values in the memory. It will just print garbage value for integer, float, and again there will not be any garbage value for gender. It will just give a blank value. So again, I'm just saving this file and I'm going to run variables.c, and then I'm going to execute it. So now you can see there is a garbage value for integer and some garbage value for float, and another, it did not print anything for gender. So this is, and I hope you understood the difference between global variables and local variables, and also to declare a variable and initialize a variable. So if you understood this video, kindly like, share and subscribe. Thank you.